Mother's Day and Christmas, I think they have something in common. And they have one thing in common, I think, that for some people it's incredibly exciting. It's this, wow, can't wait to celebrate and feel that deep awe and wonder. And for other people, it's the most painful day of the year because of babies who died, because of broken relationship, because of, and I know people who just dread Mother's Day, who don't come to church because it's so painful for them. And I think for all the rest of us, it's a little bit a mix of it all, isn't it? Sometimes there is beauty and wonder and sweetness, and sometimes there may be mixed in a little bit of sadness and a little bit of bitterness, and we try to deal with that. So what do we do with that today? And how does our scripture today speak to that? First of all, Mother's Day, well, I remember my mom, and we all remember our mothers, don't we? And there are two incidents, two situations that I treasure and will always hold dear to my heart. One is a birthday card she sent me on my 50th birthday. And she wrote in it, "I've always loved you." I felt like this encircling love. I felt like, it's good to know that. Because I haven't experienced her always as loving, but this was the affirmation as, okay, that was always there, even if I experienced her differently. And the other thing was, Sigrid and I, we had our small little kids, and we were considering moving to the States for a call to come to a congregation who had called us from Germany. And my mom and dad, they had just moved close to us. It was my understanding that they wanted to live close to grandkids, close to us, and they could have used some of our help. My dad was struggling with Parkinson's, so they were kind of, And I went to my mom with trepidation, to my parents, to both of them, and said, you know what, it's rough. We want to move. We'll leave you. I didn't say it like that, but we feel the call to move to the States. And her response was not of guilt or not of, we'll miss you or whatever. Her response was of setting us free and saying, wherever you go, know that you go with God. It's a blessing. I want you to find your way. And we will do our part. So that felt like a deep freeing, where I felt like a weight lifted, where, now, would we have gone either way? Obviously, that was the call. But it was giving the freedom, the love that sets free wants us to grow wings and take off. And in the loving, there is that freedom to which we're invited. So I think Jesus meets us in the highs, and Jesus meets us also in the lows, and that's the message I'm receiving from this scripture reading. First of all, Jesus was so close to the three siblings, Mary, Martha, Lazarus. They were wonderful, wonderful friends. So when he hears of Lazarus' death, Lazarus died, he's just falling apart. He's just grieving deeply. And the scriptures say I don't know the exact words, always depends on the translation, but he's worked up, something is moving in him. And then when he comes to the grave, he's actually tearing up and he's weeping. He's weeping. So Jesus, Son of God, is weeping and falling apart. I find that comforting, to knowing the humanity of Jesus, saying like, and don't we all know that grieving and sadness is an expression of love. Tears are prayers. It wouldn't be sad, it wouldn't be hard if it weren't for the love, the deep, deep love. And that love in Jesus that becomes visible in his tears and that becomes visible in his care and his compassion and all, to me, that's a wonderful, wonderful gift for us all to remember. And the other part that I find so meaningful and that reaches me is that Jesus is encountering death, dealing with death. Death people, Lazarus had died. And I think when we don't think just literally about Lazarus, what are the many deaths we are dealing with in our lives? Big death, small death. We're all stuck in some place, in one place or another. We all feel like frozen. Should I go? Should I not? We all feel once in a while frozen in fear and paralyzed, like there is some death, not literal, but in some way, death messages we deal with. And don't we all get some of those messages? You're not good enough. You're not worthy. We all know the inner critics, don't we? We have those messages. And Jesus is meeting us in those messages, in our brokenness, in our falling apart, in our feeling at a loss, in our stuckness, in our own little death. And what does Jesus do in that? Well, what does he do with Lazarus? He says, come out. In a deep, deep sense, come out of whatever keeps you frozen, whatever you feel like ties you up, whatever fear has a grip on you. Come out of your own hole, out of your own tomb, out of your own limitations, out of your own straitjacket, where you feel like, I cannot move, out of your stuck place. Jesus says, come out to be your true self, to embrace the potential that God sees in you, to grow wings like the butterfly that is so confined in the chrysalis. And it takes all this time, all this patience. It's not happening, just like with those seeds planted. It's not happening. But come out of that shell, come out of that confinement, out of your own little limitations, big limitations or small limitations. So Jesus calls Lazarus and Jesus calls you out into life. And that can be literal coming out, that can be spiritual, that can be like taking the risk, taking the faith, trusting and moving out into that newness of life. That's what resurrection is. It's not the one-time thing for Jesus. It's not the one-time coming back that we await for Jesus. Resurrection is when I trust and take that step into the freedom into which Jesus calls me. It's almost like the baby learning to walk and daddy or mommy waiting there. And it's this, will you come? Will you come? That's how Jesus is beckoning us. And often we feel like, oh, I want to, but I don't think I'm ready because I may trip, I may fall, I may get hurt, I have been burned, and I don't trust that. Jesus calling me, come, come, come out, come. So do I take that step in faith? Do I move out toward that? Do I embrace that and take that call of Jesus? Come out, come to me, come. And then at the end of the story, all the people are just, wow. And then what Jesus says is, go and untie him. So he had still wrapped the burial cloth and everything around him, Lazarus. And he invites people and say, go get him, free him from that. And I think that's a beautiful invitation for us to think, where and how can we free people, give them the freedom, unlock their potential, whatever feels like confines them, where they feel like too worrying, too much weight on them. Where can we help in that process? Because Jesus is inviting us to do that. So help untie whatever keeps people shackled. Guilt, you name it, whatever that is, those inner voices, the outer circumstances. Help free them. So how can we do that? Well, one thing is just the unconditional love. You have heard it before. You can do nothing that makes me love you less. I think that's God's love. So we can never sever that tie. That is Jesus' love. So we may not feel worthy, we may not. We can reflect that very love, that unconditional love. Love you just the way you are. Second thing is, and that is part of the loving, seeing with God's eyes. And I think many people are longing to just be seen, seeing people for who they are, just who you are. Seeing, just like a mother who gazes in the infant's face, there is love born in that gaze. There is a seeing with the heart. And seeing people in their potential, in their true selves, to see them as God does. That's a great, great gift we can give. And in that seeing, in that loving, freedom is born, and people are set free. And the third thing is, and that's a gift for ourselves, too, is to forgive and to let go. In one way or another, we have all been wounded and hurt. And are we willing to set ourselves free too? Let ourselves go. I remember this statement from Nelson Mandela right when he walked out of that prison. He had been in prison for 27 years. No good reason, not his fault. Shackled, locked up for 27 years. Unimaginable. And he says, and I paraphrase, when I walked through those doors toward freedom, I knew that if I would not forgive, I would still be in prison. How do you love? How do you affirm people? How will you set people free? I think that's what Jesus is calling us. Come out, untie him, set him free.